YM and the new popular song. YM, oh yes. In the sweet by and by, etc. Yes, the new popular song with the taking melody sings through one's head day and night, asleep and awake, till one is a wreck. There is no getting the mind to let it alone. Yes, asleep as well as awake. The mind is quite independent, it is master, you have nothing to do with it. It is so apart from you that it can conduct its affairs, sing its songs, play its chess, weave its complex and ingeniously constructed dreams while you sleep. It has no use for your help, no use for your guidance, and never uses either, whether you be asleep or awake. You have imagined that you could originate a thought in your mind, and you have sincerely believed you could do it. Yes, I have had that idea. Yet you can't originate a dream thought for it to work out, and get it accepted. No. And you can't dictate its procedure after it has originated a dream thought for itself. No. No one can do it. Do you think the waking mind and the dream mind are the same machine? There is argument for it. We have wild and fantastic day thoughts, things that are dreamlike. Yes. Like Mr. Wells's man who invented a drug that made him invisible, and like the Arabian tales of the Thousand Nights. And there are dreams that are rational, simple, consistent, and unfantastic. Yes. I have dreams that are like that, dreams that are just like real life, dreams in which there are several persons with distinctly differentiated characters, inventions of my mind and yet strangers to me. A vulgar person, a refined one, a wise person, a fool, a cruel person, a kind and compassionate one, a quarrelsome person, a peacemaker, old persons and young, beautiful girls and homely ones. They talk in character, each preserves his own characteristics. There are vivid fights, vivid and biting insults, vivid love passages. There are tragedies and comedies. There are griefs that go to one's heart. There are sayings and doings that make you laugh. Indeed, the whole thing is exactly like real life. Your dreaming mind originates the scheme, consistently and artistically develops it, and carries the little drama creditably through, all without help or suggestion from you. Yes. It is argument that it could do the like awake without help or suggestion from you, and I think it does. It is argument that it is the same old mind in both cases, and never needs your help. I think the mind is purely a machine, a thoroughly independent machine, an automatic machine. Have you tried the other experiment which I suggested to you? Which one? The one which was to determine how much influence you have over your mind, if any. Yes, and got more or less entertainment out of it. I did as you ordered. I placed two texts before my eyes, one a dull one and barren of interest, the other one full of interest, inflamed with it, white-hot with it. I commanded my mind to busy itself solely with the dull one. Did it obey? Well, no, it didn't. It busied itself with the other one. Did you try hard to make it obey? Yes, I did my honest best. What was the text which it refused to be interested in, or think about? It was this question. If a owes B $1.50, and B owes 102 3/4, and 100 owes a 35 cents, and 500 and A together owe E and B 3/16 of. I don't remember the rest now, but anyway it was wholly uninteresting, and I could not force my mind to stick to it even half a minute at a time. It kept flying off to the other text. What was the other text? It is no matter about that. But what was it? A photograph. Your own. No, it was hers. You really made an honest good test. Did you make a second trial? Yes. I commanded my mind to interest itself in the morning paper's report of the pork market, and at the same time, I reminded it of an experience of mine of 16 years ago. It refused to consider the pork, and gave its whole blazing interest to that ancient incident. What was the incident? An armed desperado slapped my face in the presence of 20 spectators. It makes me wild and murderous every time I think of it. Good tests both, very good tests. Did you try my other suggestion? The one which was to prove to me that if I would leave my mind to its own devices, it would find things to think about without any of my help, and thus convince me that it was a machine, an automatic machine, set in motion by exterior influences, and as independent of me as it could be if it were in someone else's skull. Is that the one? Yes. I tried it. I was shaving. I had slept well, and my mind was very lively, even gay and frisky. It was reveling in a fantastic and joyful episode of my remote boyhood, which had suddenly flashed up in my memory, moved to this by the spectacle of a yellow cat picking its way carefully along the top of the garden wall. The color of this cat brought the bygone cat before me, and I saw her walking along the side step of the pulpit, saw her walk onto a large sheet of sticky fly paper and get all her feet involved, saw her struggle and fall down, helpless and dissatisfied, more and more urgent, more and more unreconciled, more and more mutely profane, saw the silent congregation quivering like jelly and the tears running down their faces. I saw it all. The sight of the tears whisked my mind to a far distant and a sadder scene, in Terra del Fuego, and with Darwin's eyes I saw a naked great savage hurl his little boy against the rocks for a trifling fault, saw the poor mother gather up her dying child and hug it to her breast and weep, uttering no word. Did my mind stop to mourn with that nude black sister of mine? No, it was far away from that scene in an instant, and was busying itself with an ever-recurring and disagreeable dream of mine. In this dream I always find myself, stripped to my shirt, cringing and dodging about in the midst of a great drawing-room throng of finely dressed ladies and gentlemen, and wondering how I got there. And so on, picture after picture, incident after incident, a drifting panorama of ever-changing, ever-dissolving views manufactured by my mind without any help from me. Why, it would take me 2 hours to merely name the multitude of things my mind tallied off and photographed in 15 minutes, let alone describe them to you. A man's mind, left free, has no use for his help, but there is one way whereby he can get its help when he desires it. What is that way? When your mind is racing along from subject to subject and strikes an inspiring one, open your mouth and begin talking upon that matter, or take your pen and use that. It will interest your mind and concentrate it, and it will pursue the subject with satisfaction. It will take full charge and furnish the words itself. But don't I tell it what to say? There are certainly occasions when you haven't time. The words leap out before you know what is coming. For instance. Take a flash of wit. Repartee. Flash is the right word. It is out instantly. There is no time to arrange the words. There is no thinking, no reflecting. Where there is a wit mechanism, it is automatic in its action and needs no help. Where the wit mechanism is lacking, no amount of study and reflection can manufacture the product. You really think a man originates nothing, creates nothing? The thinking process. I do. Men perceive, and their brain machines automatically combine the things perceived. That is all. The steam engine. It takes 50 men 100 years to invent it. One meaning of invent is discover. I use the word in that sense. Little by little they discover, and apply the multitude of details that go to make the perfect engine. Watt noticed that confined steam was strong enough to lift the lid of the teapot. He didn't create the idea, he merely discovered the fact. The cat had noticed it 100 times. From the teapot he evolved the cylinder, from the displaced lid he evolved the piston rod. To attach something to the piston rod to be moved by it was a simple matter, crank and wheel. And so there was a working engine. One by one, improvements were discovered by men who used their eyes, not their creating powers, for they hadn't any. And now, after 100 years, the patient contributions of 50 or 100 observers stand compacted in the wonderful machine, which drives the ocean liner. A Shakespearean play. The process is the same. The first actor was a savage. He reproduced in his theatrical war dances, scalp dances, and so on, incidents which he had seen in real life. A more advanced civilization produced more incidents, more episodes, the actor and the storyteller borrowed them. And so the drama grew, little by little, stage by stage. It is made up of the facts of life, not creations. It took centuries to develop the Greek drama. It borrowed from preceding ages, it lent to the ages that came after. Men observe and combine, that is all. So does a rat. How? He observes a smell, he infers a cheese, he seeks and finds. The astronomer observes this and that, adds his this and that to the this and that's of 100 predecessors, infers an invisible planet, seeks it and finds it. The rat gets into a trap, gets out with trouble, infers that cheese in traps lacks value and meddles with that trap no more. The astronomer is very proud of his achievement, the rat is proud of his. Yet both are machines. They have done machine work, they have originated nothing, they have no right to be vain, the whole credit belongs to their maker. They are entitled to no honors, no praises, no monuments when they die, no remembrance. One is a complex and elaborate machine, the other a simple and limited machine. But they are alike in principle, function, and process, and neither of them works otherwise than automatically, and neither of them may righteously claim a personal superiority or a personal dignity above the other. Ym in earned personal dignity, then, and in personal merit for what he does, it follows of necessity that he is on the same level as a rat. His brother the rat. Yes, that is how it seems to me. Neither of them being entitled to any personal merit for what he does, it follows of necessity that neither of them has a right to arrogate to himself personally created superiorities over his brother. Are you determined to go on believing in these insanities? Would you go on believing in them, in the face of able arguments, backed by collated facts and instances? I have been a humble, earnest, and sincere truth-seeker. Very well. The humble, earnest, and sincere truth-seeker is always convertible by such means. I am thankful to God to hear you say this, for now I know that your conversion. Wait, you misunderstand. I said I have been a truth-seeker. Well. I am not that now. Have you forgotten? I told you that there are none but temporary truth-seekers, that a permanent one is a human impossibility, that as soon as the seeker finds what he is thoroughly convinced is the truth, he seeks no further, but gives the rest of his days to hunting junk to patch it and caulk it and prop it with, and make it weatherproof and keep it from caving in on him. Hence the Presbyterian remains a Presbyterian, the Mohammedan a Mohammedan, the spiritualist a spiritualist, the Democrat a Democrat, the Republican a Republican, the monarchist a monarchist. And if a humble, earnest, and sincere seeker after truth should find it in the proposition that the moon is made of green cheese, nothing could ever budge him from that position. For he is nothing but an automatic machine, and must obey the laws of his construction. And so. Having found the truth, perceiving that beyond question man has but one moving impulse, the contenting of his own spirit, and is merely a machine and entitled to no personal merit for anything he does, it is not humanly possible for me to seek further. The rest of my days will be spent in patching and painting and puttying and caulking my priceless possession, and in looking the other way when an imploring argument or a damaging fact approaches. Chapter 6. Instinct and Thought. Young man, it is odious. Those drunken theories of yours, advanced a while ago, concerning the rat and all that, strip man bare of all his dignities, grandeurs, sublimities. Old man, he hasn't any to strip, they are shams, stolen clothes. He claims credits which belong solely to his maker. But you have no right to put him on a level with a rat. I don't morally. That would not be fair to the rat. The rat is well above him's there. Are you joking? No, I am not. Then what do you mean? That comes under the head of the moral sense. It is a large question. Let us finish with what we are about now, before we take it up. Very well. You have seemed to concede that you place man and the rat on a level. What is it? The intellectual. In form, not a degree. Explain. I think that the rat's mind and the man's mind are the same machine, but of unequal capacities, like yours and Edison's, like the African pygmies and Homer's, like the Bushman's and Bismarck's. How are you going to make that out, when the lower animals have no mental quality but instinct, while man possesses reason? What is instinct? It is merely unthinking and mechanical exercise of inherited habit. What originated the habit? The first animal started it. Its descendants have inherited it. How did the first one come to start it? I don't know, but it didn't think it out. How do you know it did? Well, I have a right to suppose it didn't anyway. I don't believe you have. What is thought? I know what you call it. the mechanical and automatic putting together of impressions received from outside, and drawing an inference from them. Very good. Now my idea of the meaningless term instinct is that it is merely petrified thought, solidified and made inanimate by habit, thought which was once alive and awake, but has become unconscious, walks in its sleep, so to speak. Illustrate it. Take a herd of cows, feeding in a pasture. Their heads are all turned in one direction. They do that instinctively, they gain nothing by it, they have no reason for it, they don't know why they do it. It is an inherited habit which was originally thought, that is to say, observation of an exterior fact, and a valuable inference drawn from that observation, and confirmed by experience. The original wild ox noticed that with the wind in his favor he could smell his enemy in time to escape. Then he inferred that it was worthwhile to keep his nose to the wind. That is the process which man calls reasoning. Man's thought machine works just like the other animals, but it is a better one and more Edisonian. Man, in the ox's place, would go further, reason wider. He would face part of the herd the other way and protect both front and rear. Did you say the term instinct is meaningless? I think it is a bastard word. I think it confuses us, for as a rule it applies itself to habits and impulses which had a far-off origin in thought, and now and then breaks the rule and applies itself to habits which can hardly claim a thought origin. Give an instance. Well, in putting on trousers, a man always inserts the same old leg first, never the other one. There is no advantage in that and no sense in it. All men do it, yet no man thought it out and adopted it of set purpose, I imagine. But it is a habit which is transmitted, no doubt, and will continue to be transmitted. Can you prove that the habit exists? You can prove it, if you doubt. If you will take a man to a clothing store and watch him try on a dozen pairs of trousers, you will see. The cow illustration is not. Sufficient to show that a dumb animal's mental machine is just the same as a man's and its reasoning process is the same. I will illustrate further. If you should hand Mr. Edison a box which you caused to fly open by some concealed device, he would infer a spring, and would hunt for it and find it. Now an uncle of mine had an old horse who used to get into the closed lot where the corn crib was, and dishonestly take the corn. I got the punishment myself, as it was supposed that I had heedlessly failed to insert the wooden pin which kept the gate closed. These persistent punishments fatigued me. They also caused me to infer the existence of a culprit, somewhere, so I hid myself and watched the gate. Presently the horse came and pulled the pin out with his teeth and went in. Nobody taught him that. He had observed, then thought it out for himself. His process did not differ from Edison's. He put this and that together and drew an inference, and the peg too, but I made him sweat for it. It has something of the seeming of thought about it, still it is not very elaborate, in large. Suppose Mr. Edison has been enjoying someone's hospitalities. He comes again by and by, and the house is vacant. He infers that his host has moved. A while afterward, in another town, he sees the man enter a house. He infers that that is the new home and follows to inquire. Here now is the experience of a gull, as related by a naturalist. The scene is a Scotch fishing village where the gulls were kindly treated. This particular gull visited a cottage, was fed, came next day and was fed again, came into the house next time and ate with the family, kept on doing this almost daily thereafter. But once the gull was away on a journey for a few days, and when it returned the house was vacant. Its friends had removed to a village 3 miles distant. Several months later it saw the head of the family on the street there, followed him home, entered the house without excuse or apology and became a daily guest again. Gulls do not rank high mentally, but this one had memory and the reasoning faculty, you see, and applied them Edisonially. Yet it was not an Edison, and couldn't be developed into one. Perhaps not, could you? That is neither here nor there, go on. If Edison were in trouble, and a stranger helped him out of it, and next day he got into the same difficulty again, he would infer the wise thing to do in case he knew the stranger's address. Here is a case of a bird and a stranger, as related by a naturalist. An Englishman saw a bird flying around about his dog's head, down in the grounds, and uttering cries of distress. He went there to see about it. The dog had a young bird in his mouth, unhurt. The gentleman rescued it and put it on a bush and brought the dog away. Early the next morning the mother bird came for the gentleman, who was sitting on his veranda, and by its maneuvers persuaded him to follow it to a distant part of the grounds, flying a little way in front of him and waiting for him to catch up, and so on, and keeping to the winding path, too, instead of flying the near way across lots. The distance covered was 400 yards. The same dog was the culprit. He had the young bird again, and once more he had to give it up. Now the mother bird had reasoned it all out. Since the stranger had helped her once, she inferred that he would do it again. She knew where to find him, and she went upon her errand with confidence. Her mental processes were what Edison's would have been. She put this and that together, and that is all that thought is, and out of them built her logical arrangement of inferences. Edison couldn't have done it any better himself. Do you believe that many of the dumb animals can think? Yes, the elephant, the monkey, the horse, the dog, the parrot, the macaw, the mockingbird, and many others. The elephant whose mate fell into a pit, and who dumped dirt and rubbish into the pit till bottom was raised high enough to enable the captive to step out, was equipped with the reasoning quality. I conceive that all animals that can learn things through teaching and drilling have to know how to observe, and put this and that together and draw an inference, the process of thinking. Could you teach an idiot the manual of arms, and to advance, retreat, and go through complex field maneuvers at the word of command? Not if you were a thorough idiot. Well, canary birds can learn all that. Dogs and elephants learn all sorts of wonderful things. They must surely be able to notice, and to put things together and say to themselves, I get the idea now. When I do so and so, as per order I am praised and fed. When I do differently I am punished. Fleas can be taught nearly anything that a congressman can. Granting, then, that dumb animals are able to think upon a low plane, is there any that can think upon a high one? Is there one that is well up toward man? Yes. As a thinker and planner, the ant is the equal of any savage race of men. As a self-educated specialist in several arts, she is the superior of any savage race of men. And in one or two high mental qualities, she is above the reach of any man, savage or civilized. Come. You are abolishing the intellectual frontier which separates man and beast. I beg your pardon. One cannot abolish what does not exist. You are not in earnest, I hope. You cannot mean to seriously say there is no such frontier. I do say it seriously. The instances of the horse, the gull, the mother bird, and the elephant show that those creatures put their thises and that's together just as Edison would have done it and drew the same inferences that he would have drawn. Their mental machinery was just like his, also its manner of working. Their equipment was as inferior to the Strasbourg clock, but that is the only difference. There is no frontier. It looks exasperatingly true, and is distinctly offensive. It elevates the dumb beasts too. Let us drop that lying phrase, and call them the unrevealed creatures. So far as we can know, there is no such thing as a dumb beast. On what grounds do you make that assertion? On quite simple ones. Dumb beast suggests an animal that has no thought machinery, no understanding, no speech, no way of communicating what is in its mind. We know that a hen has speech. We cannot understand everything she says, but we easily learn 2 or 3 of her phrases. We know when she is saying, I have laid an egg. We know when she is saying to the chicks, run here dears, I've found a worm. We know what she is saying when she voices a warning. Quick, hurry, gather yourselves under mama, there's a hawk coming. We understand the cat when she stretches herself out, purring with affection and contentment and lifts up a soft voice and says, come kitties, supper's ready. We understand her when she goes mourning about and says, where can they be? They are lost. Won't you help me hunt for them? And we understand the disreputable Tom when he challenges at midnight from his shed, you come over here, you product of immoral commerce, and I'll make your fur fly. We understand a few of a dog's phrases, and we learn to understand a few of the remarks and gestures of any bird or other animal that we domesticate and observe. The clearness and exactness of the few of the hen's speeches, which we understand, is argument that she can communicate to her kind 100 things which we cannot comprehend. In a word, that she can converse. And this argument is also applicable in the case of others of the great army of the unrevealed. It is just like man's vanity and impertinence to call an animal dumb, because it is dumb to his dull perceptions. Now as to the ant. Yes, go back to the ant, the creature that, as you seem to think, sweeps away the last vestige of an intellectual frontier between man and the unrevealed. That is what she surely does. In all his history, the Aboriginal Australian never thought out a house for himself and built it. The ant is an amazing architect. She is a wee little creature, but she builds a strong and enduring house 8 feet high, a house which is as large in proportion to her size as is the largest capital or cathedral in the world compared to man's size. No savage race has produced architects who could approach the ant in genius or culture. No civilized race has produced architects who could plan a house better for the uses proposed than can hers. Her house contains a throne room, nurseries for her young, granaries, apartments for her soldiers, her workers, etc., and they and the multifarious halls and corridors which communicate with them are arranged and distributed with an educated and experienced eye for convenience and adaptability. That could be mere instinct. It would elevate the savage if he had it. But let us look further before we decide. The ant has soldiers, battalions, regiments, armies, and they have their appointed captains and generals who lead them to battle. That could be instinct too. We will look still further. The ant has a system of government. It is well planned, elaborate, and is well carried on. Instinct again. She has crowds of slaves, and is a hard and unjust employer of forced labor. Instinct. She has cows and milks them. Instinct, of course. In Texas she lays out a farm 12 feet square, plants it, weeds it, cultivates it, gathers the crop and stores it away. Instinct, all the same. The ant discriminates between friend and stranger. Sir John Lubbock took ants from 2 different nests, made them drunk with whiskey and laid them, unconscious, by one of the nests, near some water. Ants from the nest came and examined and discussed these disgraced creatures, then carried their friends home and threw the strangers overboard. Sir John repeated the experiment a number of times. For a time the sober ants did as they had done at first, carried their friends home and threw the strangers overboard. But finally they lost patience, seeing that their reformatory efforts went for nothing, and threw both friends and strangers overboard. Is this instinct, or is it thoughtful and intelligent discussion of a thing new, absolutely new to their experience, with a verdict arrived at, sentence passed, and judgment executed? Is it instinct? Thought petrified by ages of habit, or isn't it brand new thought, inspired by the new occasion, the new circumstances? I have to concede it. It was not a result of habit. It has all the look of reflection, thought, putting this and that together as you phrase it. I believe it was thought. I will give you another instance of thought. Franklin had a cup of sugar on a table in his room. The ants got at it. He tried several preventives, and ants rose superior to them. Finally he contrived one which shut off access, probably set the table's legs in pans of water, or drew a circle of tar around the cup, I don't remember. At any rate, he watched to see what they would do. They tried various schemes, failures, every one. The ants were badly puzzled. Finally they held a consultation, discussed the problem, arrived at a decision, and this time they beat that great philosopher. They formed in procession, crossed the floor, climbed the wall, marched across the ceiling to a point just over the cup, then one by one they let go and fell down into it. Was that instinct, thought petrified by ages of inherited habit? No, I don't believe it was. I believe it was a newly reasoned scheme to meet a new emergency. Very well. You have conceded the reasoning power in 2 instances. I come now to a mental detail, wherein the ant is a long way the superior of any human being. Sir John Lubbock proved by many experiments that an ant knows a stranger ant of her own species in a moment, even when the stranger is disguised with paint. Also he proved that an ant knows every individual in her hive of 500,000 souls. Also, after a year's absence, one of the 500,000 she will straightway recognize the returned absentee and grace the recognition with an affectionate welcome. How are these recognitions made? Not by color, for painted ants were recognized. Not by smell, for ants that had been dipped in chloroform were recognized. Not by speech, and not by antennae signs nor contacts, for the drunken and motionless ants were recognized, and the friend discriminated from the stranger. The ants were all of the same species, therefore the friends had to be recognized by form and feature, friends who formed part of a hive of 500,000. Has any man a memory for form and feature approaching that? Certainly not. Franklin's ants and Lubbock's ants show fine capacities of putting this and that together in new and untried emergencies, and deducting smart conclusions from the combinations. A man's mental process exactly. With memory to help, man preserves his observations and reasonings, reflects upon them, adds to them, recombines, and so proceeds, stage by stage, to far results. From the tea kettle to the ocean greyhound's complex engine, from personal labor to slave labor, from wigwam to palace, from the capricious chase to agriculture and stored food, from nomadic life to stable government and concentrated authority, from incoherent hordes to massed armies. The ant has observation, the reasoning faculty, and the preserving adjunct of a prodigious memory. She has duplicated man's development and the essential features of his civilization, and you call it all instinct. Perhaps I lack the reasoning faculty myself. Well, don't tell anybody, and don't do it again. We have come a good way. As a result, as I understand it, I am required to concede that there is absolutely no intellectual frontier separating man and the unrevealed creatures. That is what you are required to concede. There is no such frontier, there is no way to get around that. Man has a finer and more capable machine in him than those others, but it is the same machine and works in the same way. And neither he nor those others can command the machine. It is strictly automatic, independent of control, works when it pleases, and when it doesn't please, it can't be forced. Then man and the other animals are all alike, as to mental machinery, and there isn't any difference of any stupendous magnitude between them, except in quality, not in kind. That is about the state of it, intellectuality. There are pronounced limitations on both sides. We can't learn to understand much of their language, but the dog, the elephant, etc., learn to understand a very great deal of ours. To that extent they are our superiors. On the other hand, they can't learn reading, writing, etc., nor any of our fine and high things, and there we have a large advantage over them. Very well, let them have what they've got, and welcome. There is still a wall, and a lofty one. They haven't got the moral sense, we have it, and it lifts us immeasurably above them. What makes you think that? Now look here, let's call a halt. I have stood the other infamies and insanities, and that is enough. I am not going to have man and the other animals put on the same level morally. I wasn't going to hoist man up to that. This is too much. I think it is not right to jest about such things. I am not jesting. I am merely reflecting a plain and simple truth, and without uncharitableness. The fact that man knows right from wrong proves his intellectual superiority to the other creatures, but the fact that he can do wrong proves his moral inferiority to any creature that cannot. It is my belief that this position is not assailable. Free will. What is your opinion regarding free will? That there is no such thing. Did the man possess it who gave the old woman his last shilling and trudged home in the storm? He had the choice between succoring the old woman and leaving her to suffer. Isn't it so? Yes, there was a choice to be made, between bodily comfort on the one hand and the comfort of the spirit on the other. The body made a strong appeal, of course. The body would be quite sure to do that. The spirit made a counter-appeal. A choice had to be made between the two appeals and was made. Who or what determined that choice? Anyone but you would say that the man determined it, and that in doing it, he exercised free will. We are constantly assured that every man is endowed with free will, and that he can, and must exercise it, where he is offered a choice between good conduct and less good conduct. Yet we clearly saw that in that man's case he really had no free will. His temperament, his training, and the daily influences which had molded him and made him what he was, compelled him to rescue the old woman and thus save himself from spiritual pain, from unendurable wretchedness. He did not make the choice, it was made for him by forces which he could not control. Free will has always existed in words, but it stops there, I think stops short of fact. I would not use those words, free will, but others. What others? Free choice. What is the difference? The one implies untrammeled power to act as you please, the other implies nothing beyond a mere mental process. The critical ability to determine which of two things is nearest right and just. Make the difference clear, please. The mind can freely select, choose, point out the right and just one. Its function stops there. It can go no further in the matter. It has no authority to say that the right one shall be acted upon and the wrong one discarded. That authority is in other hands. The man s. In the machine which stands for him, in his born disposition, and the character which has been built around it by training and environment. It will act upon the right one of the two. It will do as it pleases in the matter. George Washington's machine would act upon the right one, Pizarro would act upon the wrong one. Then, as I understand it, a bad man's mental machinery calmly and judicially points out which of two things is right and just. Yes, and his moral machinery will freely act upon the one or the other, according to its make, and be quite indifferent to the mind's feeling concerning the matter. That is, would be, if the mind had any feelings, which it hasn't. It is merely a thermometer, it registers the heat and the cold, and cares not a farthing about either. Then, we must not claim that if a man knows which of two things is right, he is absolutely bound to do that thing. His temperament and training will decide what he shall do, and he will do it. He cannot help himself, he has no authority over the matter. Wasn't it right for David to go out and slay Goliath? Yes. Then, it would have been equally right for anyone else to do it. Certainly. Then, it would have been right for a born coward to attempt it. It would, yes. You know that no born coward ever would have attempted it, don't you? Yes. You know that a born coward's make and temperament would be an absolute and insurmountable bar to his ever essaying such a thing, don't you? Yes, I know it. He clearly perceives that it would be right to try it. Yes. His mind has free choice in determining that it would be right to try it. Yes. Then, if by reason of his inborn cowardice he simply cannot essay it, what becomes of his free will? Where is his free will? Why claim that he has free will when the plain facts show that he has? Why contend that because he and David see the right alike, both must act alike? Why impose the same laws upon goat and lion? There is really no such thing as free will. It is what I think. There is will, but it has nothing to do with intellectual perceptions of right and wrong, and is not under their command. David's temperament and training had will, and it was a compulsory force. David had to obey its decrees, he had no choice. The coward's temperament and training possess will, and it is compulsory. It commands him to avoid danger, and he obeys, he has no choice. But neither the Davids nor the cowards possess free will that may do the right or do the wrong, as their mental verdict shall decide. Not two values, but only one. There is one thing which bothers me. I can't tell where you draw the line between material covetousness and spiritual covetousness. I don't draw any. How do you mean? There is no such thing as material covetousness. All covetousness is spiritual. All longings, desires, ambitions spiritual, never material. Yes. The master in you requires that in all cases you shall content his spirit, that alone. He never requires anything else, he never interests himself in any other matter. Come. When he covets somebody's money, isn't that rather distinctly material and gross? No. The money is merely a symbol, it represents in visible and concrete form a spiritual desire. Any so-called material thing that you want is merely a symbol. You want it not for itself, but because it will content your spirit for the moment. Please particularize. Very well. Maybe the thing longed for is a new hat. You get it and your vanity is pleased, your spirit contented. Suppose your friends deride the hat, make fun of it. At once it loses its value, you are ashamed of it, you put it out of your sight, you never want to see it again. I think I see, go on. It is the same hat, isn't it? It is in no way altered. But it wasn't the hat you wanted, but only what it stood for, a something to please and content your spirit. When it failed of that, the whole of its value was gone. There are no material values, there are only spiritual ones. You will hunt in vain for a material value that is actual, real, there is no such thing. The only value it possesses for even a moment is the spiritual value back of it. Remove that end and it is at once worthless, like the hat. Can you extend that to money? Yes. It is merely a symbol, it has no material value. You think you desire it for its own sake, but it is not so. You desire it for the spiritual content it will bring. If it fail of that, you discover that its value is gone. There is that pathetic tale of the man who labored like a slave, unresting, unsatisfied, until he had accumulated a fortune, and was happy over it, jubilant about it. Then in a single week a pestilence swept away all whom he held dear and left him desolate. His money's value was gone. He realized that his joy in it came not from the money itself, but from the spiritual contentment he got out of his family's enjoyment of the pleasures and delights it lavished upon them. Money has no material value. If you remove its spiritual value, nothing is left but dross. It is so with all things, little or big, majestic or trivial, there are no exceptions. Crowns, scepters, pennies, paste jewels, village notoriety, worldwide fame, they are all the same, they have no material value. While they content the spirit, they are precious. When this fails, they are worthless. A difficult question. Why you keep me confused and perplexed all the time by your elusive terminology? Sometimes you divide a man up into 2 or 3 separate personalities, each with authorities, jurisdictions, and responsibilities of its own, and when he is in that condition I can't grasp it. Now when I speak of a man, he is the whole thing in one, and easy to hold and contemplate. That is pleasant and convenient if true. When you speak of my body, who is the my? It is the me. The body is a property then, and the me owns it. Who is the me? The me is the whole thing. It is a common property, an undivided ownership, vested in the whole entity. If the me admires a rainbow, is it the whole me that admires it, including the hair, hands, heels, and all? Certainly not. It is my mind that admires it. So you divide the me yourself. Everybody does, everybody must. What then, definitely, is the me? I think it must consist of just those 2 parts, the body and the mind. You think so. If you say, I believe the world is round, who is the I that is speaking? The mind. If you say, I grieve for the loss of my father, who is the I? The mind. Is the mind exercising an intellectual function when it examines and accepts the evidence that the world is round. Yes. Is it exercising an intellectual function when it grieves for the loss of your father? That is not cerebration, brainwork, it is a matter of feeling. Then its source is not in your mind, but in your moral territory. I have to grant it. Is your mind a part of your physical equipment? No, it is independent of it, it is spiritual. Being spiritual, it cannot be affected by physical influences. No. Does the mind remain sober with the body is drunk? Well, no. There is a physical effect present then. It looks like it. A cracked skull has resulted in a crazy mind. Why should it happen if the mind is spiritual and independent of physical influences? Well, I don't know. When you have a pain in your foot, how do you know it? I feel it. But you do not feel it until a nerve reports the hurt to the brain. Yet the brain is the seat of the mind, is it not? I think so. But isn't spiritual enough to learn what is happening in the outskirts without the help of the physical messenger. You perceive that the question of who or what the me is not a simple one at all. You say, I admire the rainbow, and I believe the world is round, and in these cases we find that the me is not speaking, but only the mental part. You say, I grieve, and again the me is not all speaking, but only the moral part. You say the mind is wholly spiritual, then you say I have a pain, and find that this time the me is mental and spiritual combined. We all use the I in this indeterminate fashion, there is no help for it. We imagine a master and king over what you call the whole thing, and we speak of him as I, but when we try to define him we find we cannot do it. The intellect and the feelings can act quite independently of each other. We recognize that, and we look around for a ruler who is master over both, and can serve as a definite and indisputable I, and enable us to know what we mean, and who or what we are talking about when we use that pronoun, but we have to give it up and confess that we cannot find him. To me, man is a machine, made up of many mechanisms, the moral and mental ones acting automatically in accordance with the impulses of an interior master who is built out of born temperament and an accumulation of multitudinous outside influences and trainings. A machine whose one function is to secure the spiritual contentment of the master, be his desires good or be they evil. A machine whose will is absolute and must be obeyed, and always is obeyed. Maybe the me is the soul. Maybe it is. What is the soul? I don't know. Neither does anyone else. The master passion. What is the master? Or in common speech the conscience, explain it. It is that mysterious autocrat, lodged in a man, which compels the man to content its desires. It may be called the master passion, the hunger for self-approval. Where is its seat?